and launch his.
Oh, there you go.
Huh?
How's everybody?
Woo, we was a little worried there.
We thought we were wrong. Hey, Dr. Lamb.
You're in the right place. We've got a storm here.
Oh,
wow.
I couldn't get Zoom to work, so I had to switch browsers.
Gotcha.
It crashed.
but I think me and Monique are the only ones on. That's why we were a little worried.
Yeah, I didn't figure we'd have too many folks tonight.
Oh.
Last night, I was hoping we'd have a full house, but you never can tell. So, but I'm glad y'all are here. So that's good enough. We got the right people here, so everything is good.
Dr. Lamb, I submitted my task force, so all I have to do now is turn it in, and then turn everything into TaskStream, which I'll do tonight whenever we get out of class.
Yeah, that'll be good. Good.
I'm excited. And I'm going to hit the mute button because I got this little one and he's going to be talking.
All right. Well, we've had a good summer. Everybody's done really well. I've been very pleased. It's been really good. We've had really good groups. I've enjoyed meeting with multiple groups, and then I've enjoyed meeting with individual groups. The chats have been really good among the classes, bringing in some different perspectives. We'll go back to single classes next semester, but I think in 603, one of the things that adds value is we try to get more people together.
Yeah.
And get different perspectives. I wish that I could figure out a way for us to change groups more often doing the case studies, but it's just not possible. It's just too much to keep up with for folks. The administration of that, it's hard to get people's schedules to mesh, and when groups can work it out. I mean, I could set it up, but then it's hard for people to get together and do that. And I understand that. Everybody works, and it's hard to find time when 4 people can get together to do anything, even if you're just doing it online. So
I tell you, our Zoom team, we've gotten so close that we don't want to switch Zoom.
Well, see, that's another thing. When I read all the feedback and the SOIs and the senior exits, and that's one thing that comes shining through every time is the closeness of the groups, how they get to us. Well, I mean, you get either they work completely or they don't work at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And people like that, and they form lifelong friendships. And collaborative groups and professional support teams. That's one of the things I would never break the teams up. What I was thinking about was trying to rotate folks around where different groups could work together. But then you've got all those people, you've got to mesh all those schedules. It's hard enough with your team. And so what we talked about doing was adding the addition of Google Docs, where different teams could work. They could work theirs together, but then they could share that collaboratively with other teams. I don't know how much value is in that, whether that's just too much overhead. Splitting teams up is not smart, though. I understand that, but I was thinking about adding another step of Google Docs where teams could interact. Your team could interact with somebody else's team. I don't know how much value there is in that. We do that a lot at work already. I don't think that would be anything new or groundbreaking. And I don't want to do things just to do things. I mean, it has to add value.
Right.
Gotcha.
So,
well, we're close. We're all trying to plan to get together and for our team to get together and go out to lunch or something sometime before the semester ends.
That'd be great. That would be great. Hey, Lindy, how are you?
I think I'm the only one in North Carolina, so I'd have to go to them.
It's not bad to head south.
I was in Dr. Hamilton's.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I said whenever you come down south, just bring Dr. Lamb with you.
All right, I'll go.
And I'm going to hit the button because this little one is a little bit anxious.
All right.
Okay.
Lindy, we can't hear you yet. Lindy's muted. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, let me tell her we can't hear her.
You can't hear me?
Oh, we can now.
Now we can. There you
Sorry,
go.
I was in with Dr. Hamilton. That's the email I got.
Yeah, that's why I text you the number that you had the wrong one.
Yep.
Thank
you.
All right. We're just going to cover one tonight anyway. I don't want to keep you too late tonight. It's pretty stormy here. I may get knocked offline anytime, but again, for those live and those who are with me when we watch this video, I want to thank everybody for a good summer. It's gone really well. I've been very pleased with the work that everybody has done. And so tonight, do we have somebody who wants to be the host and show their presentation? And we'll kind of work through this and we'll go ahead and get started.
I'm going to try and pull it. I thought I had it up.
Okay.
Well, I don't even see it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I turned it in. Can you pull it up, Dr. Lynn?
That's what I'm going to do right now. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Mm-hmm.
If you can't, let me know because I may be able to pull it up on my mind.
There we go.
All right. All right. So this is case study number 4, and we went through all the questions that were listed at the bottom for reflection. So the first question said, how might the principal approach this in future meetings with her teachers? Is it necessary to choose one approach over the other? So it was first define the role of the teacher and the specialist. Once you do that, one approach creates consistency throughout the school, and one approach isn't better than the next as long as everyone is on board with the approach.
All right, so let's stop right there.
Okay.
All right, so let's do a little background. We've got an inclusion model in school. The regular ed parents are coming to the school and complaining that their child is not getting a basic education because the teacher is spending too much time with the special ed kids that are in the room. So that's the first thing. That's a change from how it used to be back in my era. It was the special ed parents who came all the time and complained their child wasn't getting what they were supposed to get. Well, we've done such a good job over the last, PL 94-142 is 45 years old this year. And we've done such a good job in the last 25 of those 40 years. First 20, not so much. But the last 25, we've done such an excellent job of informing parents of their rights, of putting personnel in place, that we don't get a lot of complaints from exceptional children's parents now. But now, in this day and age, we're getting, this is the hottest topic now in school law, is parents coming in with a copy of the basic ed promise for their child and saying, these children are keeping mine from getting it. Now, the first problem in this case is the principal doesn't know what's going on in the classroom. That's your first problem. She doesn't know what to say or what to do, or doesn't know if there's merit to the parent's argument or not, because she's not been in the classrooms. That's the first problem. You know, as you've heard me say 1,000 times, what do they do at Jones Sausage? They make sausage. What do we do in school? We teach kids. The principal's role is the instructional leader of the school. Between formal observations and walkthroughs, and if you'll remember last semester, we had you do some walkthroughs, those 15-minute drop-ins. between formal observations and walkthroughs, how in the world could a principal not know what's going on in the teacher's classroom? So that's your first, the issue here is reverse. It's regular ed parents complaining and not special ed parents complaining that teachers spend too much time with special ed kids. Principal's not been in the room and doesn't know. So that's the first problem. Second problem, parents are saying they're using my kid to teach the other kids. Is that a best practice? To take your high flyers and have them teach the other children. Is that a best practice? That is not a best practice. That's actually a bad practice. Those kids don't tend to learn a lot doing that. And most of those kids are smart enough, they don't really know how they know it, they just know it. So for them to teach it is a stretch. So so we've got a complaint that the kids are in there. Federal law says that they have to be in there, so that's not the issue. The problem is what's going on, the content of the class in the room. And since the principal's not been in there, that's a problem. Then the legal problem kicks in. Can you discuss other people's children with parents?
No.
That would be a no. We can't be talking about other people's kids. That would violate FERPA laws. We covered that earlier this semester. The Family Education Privacy Act says we don't discuss other people's children with other parents. And so we've got that. And then the principal makes a decision to send somebody else to go to the room and check, to do a formal observation. Can we assign somebody that's not qualified or certified to do a formal observation? Of course not. So she's going to send Sylvia. Going to send or Ismail, the technology coordinator, going to send him to go and check. That's not only a bad practice, that's illegal. So it just keeps going from bad to worse here. And so that's the context that we've got in this case, is that the principal is not fulfilling her role as an instructional leader. She's making some bad legal decisions, talking to parents, not knowing what's going on in the room, sending somebody else to do her job. So that's the context of this case. And so now you've got to work us through it. So let's move on to the next slide.
All right. What is the path that Eugenia should take? Eugenia should do an observation of the class.
She does have a redress, and you're exactly right. First thing she's got to do is get out of her office and go down to that room and do a formal observation of what's going on, not just a drop-in for a few minutes. She needs to be doing a formal observation of what's going on. And that's because she's had a formal complaint.
Mm-hmm.
When those parents come in and make a formal complaint, the first thing that you have to do as a principal, because this is about a job action, you need to go do a formal observation. You should have already been doing observations and walkthrough, but now you're legally required to go and do one. So that's exactly right. You've got to. We're trying to get out of the ditch now and do the right thing. So you're exactly right. We need to go do a formal observation, and then we need to do a post-conference with the teacher. Just calling the teacher in, that's just poking the bear. That just makes the teacher mad. And then you need to set apart a plan, and not just suggestions. You need to. That's why it needs to be a formal observation. Formalize the advice or the plan of what this teacher needs to do differently. That's why it needs to be a formal observation, so that you can write those steps into that observation. All right.
Okay. Is one point of view more correct than the other, and why? We don't think one point of view is any more correct than the other. We agree that the specialists that were hired should have a play with the learning environment of the kids involved, and the teachers should come together and see what is going on in each other's classroom, see what some of the same things they're doing, different things they're doing, what's working and what's not working in each of the classrooms.
All right. So what really needs to happen here is the principal needs to set the culture of the building, or the expectation of what's going to happen in the classroom, and have professional development, like the professional growth plan that y'all developed last semester. needs to have one of those in place that demands or sets the expectations for what goes on in those classrooms in terms of how an inclusion model works. In terms of, you've got a support teacher in there, but you've got a regular teacher, and the roles of each, and clearly define that teachers are not, that students are not to fill in any of those roles or be a part of that role. They're there to get an education as well. And so that would be a starting point for me, is we should set the expectation, and we can't not do the inclusion model, but how we do the model is what's in debate. Using students is a bad practice. Having the regular ed teacher stop instruction for the class and go and support the inclusion teacher, that's a bad practice as well. The inclusion teacher is supposed to support the regular instruction, not vice versa. So that's our path. Set up professional expectations of how the model is going to work, demonstrate that, supervise it, evaluate it, make sure that we're clear on the regular classroom teacher leads the lesson, the inclusion teacher supports those kids, the better, more capable regular ed students do not play a part in the instructional program. That should be the expectation that the principal sets in this school. I mean, how we got down the road on this when he got in the ditch to begin with was the principal had no expectations of what was going on in the room, and then didn't go supervise and didn't know. And left to their own devices, they just figured out on their own what was easiest for them, not what was best for kids. Now, that doesn't mean that teachers are bad people, but people are human. They're going to find systems that are most convenient for them. And that's always that factor, that convenience factor that you're always fighting in school. It's easier, to go run off papers when during class when everybody else is in class, but you can't let teachers go and do that. That's a convenience thing. Everybody's in there during class change or their planning periods, but nobody's in there during regular classes. So you'll have teachers that'll assign worksheets and go run down and run off more. Mm-hmm. That just that becomes a slippery slope. That's just a convenience thing. Doesn't mean the teacher's a bad person. But what you have to fight as a school administrator is convenience. You have to, this is what we expect. This is what we demand. This is what we're going to do. And we're not going to do what's convenient for you. We're going to do what's right for kids. You have a lot of teachers, once you set those expectations, they don't have a problem with that. But left to their own devices, rarely will they do the right thing for kids all the time. You have too many of those convenience incidents that pop up. All right.
What kind of collaboration from the children's families might the principal and the teachers propose in order to improve the inclusion education program, encourage an appreciation for diversity, and stimulate learning for the students at the school? Referral interventions, early intervening services typically occur prior to referral for special education students. You have the special education procedures, which is the eligibility criteria, mandate certain procedures be followed in determining who is eligible for services, decides on the appropriate placement for the students, develop an IEP, and placement decisions.
And so the issue here is should the principal, and this is a question I'm going to ask each of you, should the principal be brokering a meeting between the exceptional children's parents and the regular ed parents? Should the principal be brokering that outside of a school event? No. That, shoot me now. That's going to go incredibly bad. So I think what you need to do is, like at the beginning of the school, a parent night, a PTA night, where you get up and you maybe explain the program, how it works. But I don't think anything's good going to come of putting these people together. I might have had a different opinion 5 years ago or 10, but lately it's now become common practice to say the most ugly and nasty things, as long as you started out with, I'm not a racist, I'm not a bigot, I'm not discriminating against exceptional children. As long as you clarify those comments, and then people say those the worst things in the world. And you can't get very far because people divide into tribes that way, and there's animosity. So there was been a time that I would have thought that you might have been able to broker some kind of a truce between these parents and maybe a little understanding. I'm not sure that I'm quite sure now that I would not attempt that because I don't know. I don't know. I'm afraid it'd get out of hand pretty quickly. People are very confrontational now. I never really experienced this much when I, my 32 years in the business. I'm very disappointed what I've seen in the last 10 years in terms of coming in and demanding, that those exceptional children not be in the classroom. I mean, but we're seeing worse than that now. So I think trying to broker a meeting is a really bad idea. I think you just need to do an information session for all parents, and don't divide them into different groups, because that's not going to lead a good place, I'm afraid. I hate to say that. I wish I was more optimistic, but I'm just not. All right.
As an expert in the area of learning and evaluation, what might Ishmael, the technical coordinator, do to integrate and create some harmony out of the differences in opinion among the teachers? I have LRE. This type of intervention will ensure students with disabilities will be educated with their peers without disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I think what I would do with Ishmael is I would probably utilize him. I would probably utilize him in my professional development model. If he's truly an expert in teaching. See, the problem I think that might be with that is I suspect that Ishmael is respected, and he's probably pretty good at assessment. I'm just not sure how good he is in instruction.
Right.
But he would be somebody that I would certainly hope to be able to utilize to help do that staff development in terms of the best practices that we want to see. If you'll remember back to last semester, that MTSS model that I introduced, where we do a mentor-mentee coaching model, but we also had staff development. We had whole group, small group, and PLCs and one-on-one. I see Ishmael as being our whole group guy that comes in and talks about how you can use technology in your classroom, and how to use assessment in your classroom to drive instruction for all students, quality instruction for everybody. I think he could play a valuable role in that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that he has a lot of expertise in an inclusion model as a young teacher that's never done that, but he does have some value and could offer be a good resource offered up for our whole group instruction in terms of this is what we want to see in our school kind of thing. I'm not sure that he would have a lot of value as a one-on-one, or he would add value in PLCs maybe. You could have him rotate through PLCs and help them with technology and assessment of their students, so that we're sure that everybody's getting the education they deserve. But I'm not sure that he would be our model to model that behavior, but he could be. But I see him as having an active role in the professional development.
What actions might Sylvia take with the families of the children in question in order to learn and share the achievements and experiences they have observed among the children. She might have a meeting with the families to hear the concerns about the kids in question. She might invite them to the classroom to see what their kids are doing and how they are learning in class with the other kids. She could set up stations so that they can rotate around so the parents can see the different types of learning, and ask the family what types of things are they looking forward to their child or children doing and learning in the classroom.
Okay. Now, one of the problems that we have in education is we assume that if we invite parents in to see what we're doing, that'll make everything okay. About half the time that backfires on us because it confirms what they already suspect. That, I mean, I certainly as a principal wouldn't want the parents coming in and seeing her having their kids teach the other kids. I mean, we're going to have to make some changes in this classroom before we start inviting parents in. But if we don't, they're just going to confirm what they already suspect or what they've been told by their kids, and that'll only make things worse. Don't try to get on the center stage until you have a center stage act. You know, we might better be doing some professional development and some work on Sylvia's classroom before we start having parents come in. We need to make sure that she's following the script and is not doing what she's been doing. Because if we invite them in and they're doing what the kids are going home and telling her they're doing that they're mad about already, we won't be able to deal with them then. They'll go off. It will not go well. And so we would like to involve them. That's why I said we could work with them in parent nights initially until we can kind of get our house in order in terms of Sylvia and maybe some other classrooms and make sure that we're doing what we say we're doing. But I do not want them coming in and seeing Sylvia, teaching in a manner that's inappropriate or using bad practices. We want to make sure that she's doing the right things before the parents come in. Now, the problem is going to be with Sylvia is that Sylvia believes that it's the best practice to use kids to teach other kids.
No.
That's the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to dissuade Sylvia of that notion. And that's what our staff development is. We're going to do a little research. And like we did last semester, you remember, we had you do annotated bibliography of what works. And one of the things that we can do is pretty quickly, hopefully Sylvia could see that that's not a good, the data says that's not a best practice. The kids that get taught, they're not learning from that very much because the kids can't explain it to them, and the kids that are trying to teach them, they're not learning anything else. They're kind of stuck at the low level things, at the rote and recall level. And we know that in higher order, you can't just sit and work with kids on memorizing things all the time. So we've got to make sure that we get the program where it needs to be before we start bringing parents in. Until that time, I would be having a parent night or a PTA where we explain the program. But I definitely want to modify Sylvia's behavior and her teaching style in her classroom before I had parents come in and visit.
And the legal and ethical concerns. So justice is for fairness, equality, and justice for all the students. Care, relationships, collaboration, shared decision-making, connections. Profession, accountability for students' academics. Consider and evaluate potential moral and legal consequences of decision-making. Promote social justice and ensure that individual student needs inform all aspects of schooling. And the best interest of, make sure you have the best interests for the students. Rights, responsibility, respect are the keys to making decisions that are in students' best.
All right, so let's hold our principal up to this legal and ethical concerns. We have legal issues about privacy rights. We have ethical issues in terms of ethic of profession. She's not being accountable for student achievement because she's not going to the classroom. I don't see her promoting social justice here. I have a problem with sending somebody else to do your job when it's up to you to go and evaluate that teacher and putting that on them. That's not very much justice or fairness to Ishmael. Send him. So I think the principal kind of strikes out on all fronts in this one. But this is a great case study because it brings a lot of things in. I mean, social class. There's a lot of I guess sub stories or cases in this one. But I think the heart of this one is we have a principal here who doesn't want to deal with this. And her way to deal with it is not to. Is not to go to the room and to put it off and not set expectations. And then when confronted with, the brutal reality of how bad it is, try to send it, to kind of delegate this to somebody else. And I've told you in the law, you can delegate the activity, but not the responsibility. It still comes back to you. That stays with you as the principal. So I think the principal strikes out. I think the teacher doesn't do well with this either. The care and justice of having kids sacrifice their own education for those of others. I appreciate that she wants the EC kids to get what they're supposed to have, but not at the expense of the regular ed kids. Can't do that. I don't believe she has the best interest of all students at heart here. Maybe she's convinced herself that they learn that way, but if she did some research, she'd find out that this is a really bad practice for kids. They do not learn doing this. So that's kind of working through this case. Those are the points we want you to see, that just because the law says we're going to do X, Y, and Z in terms of exceptional children's program, that doesn't mean that you just let it kind of evolve on its own. You need to make sure that the format, the plan, that you have control of that plan, and you as the leader of the group set the tone in terms of what the expectations are and how we will deliver this instructional program. As I've told you before, as school administrators, as paid staff, we're all about delivery. We don't debate whether we should have 94 or 142. We don't debate the inclusion model with parents. That's what we've been presented with. That's what we implement. That's what we supervise. That's what we evaluate. Our job is instructional delivery. Is curriculum delivery and not curriculum content. I would never enter into with a parent of any ilk the efficacy of the inclusion model. That's not my job. If that's what we're going to do, then if that's what we're tasked to do, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to find the best way to do it for everybody. That's your job. That's your role. And that's the takeaway from this entire case study. That is the takeaway, to remind you that we're all about delivery, not debating whether we like inclusion model or whether we like this program or whether we like AVID or whether we like PBIS. That's not our role. Whether we like Common Core, whether we like this is taught in history or not taught, that's not our job. Our job is delivery and making sure that teachers deliver what's intended to these students and that students get what they're supposed to get. That's our job. And this case study encapsulates pretty much everything that we've covered this semester. And it goes back to, this is our job, is to make sure that we set up and run our schools in a way that kids get what they're supposed to have. And it's our responsibility to do that through the master schedule, through the course offerings, who teaches what resources we put together. It's a triangle. Our master schedule and our budget have to support our school improvement plan and the programs that we're running in our school and what we're focusing on instructionally. That's our job, not to sit and debate whether we should have these things or not, or whether we should be doing it or not. Our job is to make it work for everybody so that all children get what they're supposed to have. And that's the takeaway from this case. It's all about delivery, folks. That's what we do as administrators. We make sure that we deliver what's promised, and we don't debate it in terms of what we think about it is immaterial. It's our job to deliver it. Great job. We have somebody else who would like to do would like to bring one up. Amanda, you got one?
I do.
You want me to
I won't be able to see you, so if you need me to stop, just stop me.
All right. You want me to make you the host where you can project your screen?
I think it'll let me. Oh, let's see. You cannot start screen share while other people. Oh, yes. If you don't mind, that would be great.
All right. I'll do that right now.
Okay.
I am going to make you the host.
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to stop my share.
All right.
I'm going to turn my video off just 1 second, which usually helps for it to recognize yours. There we go.
All right. Can
Look
you
at
see
that.
it? Okay. Perfect. If you need me to stop, just let me know.
No, you go. I've already done my part. Now it's you.
Okay. I think that we pretty much kind of said what the other group said. So obviously in this case study, parents of the students in the 3B class in a Chilean elementary school are concerned because they believe that their children are not receiving an adequate education due to the lack of attention they're receiving in class. The parents voiced their concerns to the school's principal, Eugenia, who then spoke with the teacher and gathered thoughts from other teachers within the school regarding the inclusion process. The school seemed to be split regarding the appropriate way to provide an adequate education for students with disabilities. So Eugenia plans to meet with all teachers within the school to discuss the process and clear the air to get everyone on the same page. So our answers to the response questions, the first one was, how might the principal approach this and for future meetings with her teachers? Is it necessary to choose one approach over the other? We said that it might be beneficial to pull in the special education teachers. We talked about maybe rephrasing what she actually says to Sylvia when they sit down together. We talked about actually going into the classroom for herself and seeing and not just relying on what other people are telling her. She needs to remind the teachers of the IDEA law and the services that's required with that. And based on students' needs, that's based on students' needs. So you can't necessarily choose.
Yeah, we're tasked to deliver. It's not our choice. That is correct. Excellent point.
Another strategy that she could use would be in her conversation with the teachers is, hold on, I read that weird. Another strategy that the principal could utilize in her conversations with the teacher is to lead the conversation with questions so that the teachers had the opportunity to describe in ways in which, they provide this classroom instruction and different strategies that they use. The second question was, what is the path that Eugenia should take? We said if the student's IEP plans determine that the least restrictive environment is in the regular ed classroom, then that's where the student should be. Eugenia should also speak more closely with Sergio. The study says that he has good results with his students, and he seems to be working closely with the integration program's team of specialists. So Eugenia should look at those strategies he and the special education teachers are using to see if they could become more effective and beneficial in other classrooms.
That's right. We could use him in our staff development model.
Let's see. Number 3 is one point of view more correct than the other. Like the other group said, we said no. Both points of view seem to want the best outcome for the students. Sylvia wants to work closely with the struggling students in her classroom and values the input of the higher level students in her room. We noted that Cheryl says that peer tutors helpers are a part of the least restrictive human support system. However, in her response to Eugenia, Sylvia does not mention the use of special education teachers. Sergio seems to value the expertise of the special education teachers and uses them on a regular basis. So we kind of thought, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, kind of comparing it to what Cheryl says, maybe not necessarily depending on the students to teach the other students, but maybe if they kind of, she taught something, she might could pair them up with another student who really gets it, and then they can kind of work together just to.
That would be called cooperative learning. That's one of the 9 best practices.
Yes.
That is correct.
She should do it more that way, that approach, rather than, having that student teach the other student. Number 4, what kind of collaboration from the children's families might the principal and the teacher propose in order to improve the inclusive education program, encourage an appreciation for diversity, and stimulate learning for all the students at the school? We said that she could ask for the input of families whose students are involved in the inclusive education program, as mentioned by the second grade teacher, Angelica. The school could also host a parent workshop encouraging diversity and highlighting the achievements of all students.
You want to do that parent night, PTA night workshop where you educate parents. That's your start with them. They've got to know what you're doing. They need to understand the law, that this is not optional and this is what we're going to do. Yeah, excellent.
Number 5, as an expert in the area of learning and evaluation, what might Ishmael, the technical coordinator, do to integrate and create some harmony out of the differences in opinions among the teachers? We said that he could provide strategies to the regular ed teachers who have students with disabilities in their classrooms. This could include techniques that Sylvia is using and could provide teachers like her ways to communicate and work more effectively with the special education teachers in the building like Sergio. And like we talked about earlier, and I know the other group mentioned, Sergio seems to be doing really well with his students, so maybe kind of pulling him in that whole group aspect to kind of find out some things that he's doing.
Absolutely, and he could also share them in PLCs. Absolutely.
Number 6, what actions might Sylvia take with the families of the children in question in order to learn and share the achievements and experiences that they have observed among the children? We said that she can invite the parents into the classroom to observe and participate in the classroom one specific day. It's also a good idea for her to explain how the program works at the school at an event or a function. And we talked about how awareness is really key with this, and that many parents who don't have students with IEPs or a learning disability don't really understand or don't really know too much about it. So in that workshop that they hold about diversity, that's something that they could make sure that they kind of explain to parents kind of how the program works, and kind of maybe some different learning disabilities, because it would be nice too to have parents kind of be on the lookout on their side at home to kind of see, this might not be right with my child. We were doing this and I noticed this. Could this play a factor maybe in their schooling? And it kind of gets the teachers and the parents on the same page.
Okay.
And then the 4 paradigms, we talked about justice. The principal must exercise justice by following the IEP of each of the students involved. She must also follow the IDEA law. Care, the principal must show care by listening to the concerns of the parents from both sides, the teachers and the administrative expert for the strategies. Critique, the principal must explore both sides of the concern and use facts to make a decision as to how to provide an equitable experience for all students. And we did note how she kind of passed things on to other people to kind of do investigating, and she didn't really do it herself. And then profession, the principal must use professionalism in her approach to addressing the situation, as she needs to ensure that the IEPs are all followed, IDEA law is adhered to, and to ensure that all students get the equal access to a quality education. And that's the end of our presentation.
Excellent. Why do we hire school administrators? Do we hire them to teach students? No. We hire them to make sure the students get taught, though. If you're the principal and you're not getting in classrooms and you're not the instructional leader and you're not making out the master schedule, you're not in charge. Why do we need you? I've never understood that. I used to have to go out and have those critical conversations with principals when I supervised them. We used to call them come to Jesus meetings. Now we call them critical conversations. They're the same thing. But I would have to ask them, what were you doing that kept you from doing what we were paying you to do? We're going to have to look at, are we going to have to do a time on task? Or are we going to have to, do a daily diet? What were you doing? This was what was important. This is what we needed you to do. This is what we hired you to do. You didn't do that. What were you doing? And so this is this one is, it's a different vehicle than we've seen in the past, but it's the same old story. We hire administrators to make sure that students get taught, that students learn. They don't teach. They don't have to teach classes. They lead and supervise the teaching faculty. And you can't just hire people and send them to the room anymore. I've told you the story of, that you've got to do more than that now as a principal. You can't just say, well, I hired good people, I'm just going to leave them alone and they'll figure it out. That your job when you hire a person is to make them successful. And success in our business is children learning. That's what success is kids, student achievement. That's our goal. I believe I said last semester, if you're one of those people who thinks that test scores don't matter and that we don't need to be doing, we're not interested in achievement, then you're in the wrong business. That's the only reason they hired you as an administrator, is to make sure that students achieve, that they get what they're promised. I mean, that's the whole point of what we do every day, is that students get what they're promised. And that's your job. And if you're finding other things to do that keep you from monitoring, supervising, evaluating, and leading instruction, then you won't make it. I wanted to make sure that we understood that. This semester is all about management. It's about creating master schedule, supervision, duty. It's all that. But in the end, it all comes back. That's just a piece of instructional leadership. It is not a conflict with instructional leadership. It's a piece of instructional leadership. And in the end, instruction is really what matters in school. Quality instruction. And if students teaching other kids was a best practice, it would be one of the 9, and it's not. And as Amanda pointed out, cooperative learning is. We could utilize those kids in that room, but not to teach the other kids. That's child abuse. That's not a good thing. But there are ways that we could utilize them. But in the end, this is about the principle. This is what happens when you have a lack of instructional leadership. And instructional leadership is not just standing up in front of the faculty meeting and say, I'm the instructional leader. You've got to live it every day. You've got to be a servant leader. You've got to be out there in those classrooms. You've got to be providing meaningful professional development and leading that meaningful professional development and setting the culture and the expectations in your building. And if you do that, you have a chance to be successful. If you don't, you have no chance. I can't promise you you'll be successful, but I can promise you won't be if you don't do these things. You need to be in charge of the master schedule. You need to know who's teaching what, where, and when. And it needs to be based on that rationale of federal law, state law, board policy, best practices, EVOS, which teachers get the best results. Making sure that when you have the inclusion model, you don't just leave it up to the teachers to figure it out, that you take an active role in your school in making sure that all kids are getting what they're supposed to be getting. That's your job. If that's not what you signed up for, I'm hoping that you are realizing it now, that it's all about instruction. We're doing a special program now for the curriculum instruction doctoral program students to get them a license to be practicing administrators. They have to go through a block. And one of the things that I'm encouraged about that is that tells me that we're focused now on instruction more than we ever have been in the past. We're not looking for people who can just roll the ball out metaphorically. We're looking for people who are great teachers to be our not only our teacher leaders but our school leaders. We're looking for people who are great teachers and who understand quality instruction is what we're all about. And I think this case study highlights that better than any other, that it kind of puts it all together and puts it all in perspective in terms of what our job is every day in the school business, is to make sure that kids learn, have the opportunity to better themselves in their lives. And that's kind of the whole notion here. We have anybody else who would like to add anything to the group tonight? No? Well, I certainly have enjoyed this semester and working with all of you. You're going to be changing gears again for next semester. Next semester is about exploring yourself. We've been doing all this stuff, and it's been a lot of got to learn this, and it's been kind of focused on the instructor and the content. Next semester is going to be different. It's going to be you focusing on you and what your strengths and weaknesses are, and developing yourself as a leader. 605 is focused on you. It's not focused on the content. It's focused on you and getting you where you need to be, and you being honest with yourself in your self-assessment to grow into your leadership role. This is completely different, but I think that each of you are now ready for that. You're ready to take on that challenge of growing yourself and finding yourself as a leader. And that's what we've been working so hard for 2 semesters, to give you the background and the content to be able to do that. And now I believe that you have what you need to go forward and begin to emerge as that leader, that self-reliant leader with self-confidence who has the necessary skills to lead a school.
Dr. Lamb, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any way, if we have textbooks for next semester, because I know they're normally listed on the syllabus, is there any way that one of you can email us those?
I will put those in, I'll send those out tonight when I send out.
Okay.
Good
Thank
idea.
And Dr. Lamb,
Yes.
Dr. Lamb, my group, we joined you pretty late. We were actually in the wrong section, so we have not presented.
Okay.
My group hasn't presented. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So Veronica is part of my group too. Okay. And
Who
Jennifer.
wants to be the host?
Jennifer's not here, but Veronica. I will. I'll be the host.
Okay. I'll make you the host. Wonderful. Okay. All right. I'm going to be the host, and now I'm going to make you the host, and I'm going to stop my share, stop my video, and it should come up for you now, Angelina.
Okay. Can you guys? Okay, you can see it. And we pretty much said the same as the other ones, so I'm gonna go through it. But again, we know that this case study here is
we're not shared yet.
Oh no, it's my internet. Stable. You're not shared? Oh, okay. Let me see if I can figure it out. Veronica.
I don't have it pulled up, but give me a second.
Veronica, I'm having trouble sharing my internet.
All right, I'm gonna move the host over to.
I don't have it pulled up yet.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna attempt to try one more time.
Hold on, I don't have it pulled up.
Veronica.
Yeah, hold on just a second.
I'm so sorry.
I don't have it pulled up. Hold on. Whoa, don't host it. Oh my gosh. Hold on.
You are the host now.
Oh, I don't have it pulled up. Hold on.
You'll be fine.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. Take your time. Let me see if I can.
Let me see if I can. Okay. Let me see. Can I? Where a minute, y'all. Let's see if that's it. Okay, now hold on. Let me see if I can share.
There's screen. It's coming.
Doing the wrong one. Hold on.
It's trying. There it goes.
Okay, Veronica, you're
Is that-
there.
Hold on. There you go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, hon.
Okay. And as we were saying before, the case focuses on the issue of inclusion education, the role of the parents, roles of the teacher, and when teaching students with special needs. So that was the scenario.
Can you see it?
Yes. So the different points of views, we focus on the parents of regular ed students, and then the teachers, and then last the technical coordinators. So the parents of the regular ed students, we said that their point of view, the children's needs were being disregarded while the special needs were being addressed. Their children had to help the kids in the inclusion program. And then we said the teachers, Sylvia, which was a teacher, believed students teaching others reinforced the learning of all students, and the other teachers felt the special needs students had a right to be educated by capable teachers as well, and they made sure to cover the curriculum. So they made sure that that the individual disability education act was followed. And then the technical coordinator, the needs of the integration students needed to be overseen by the, you can go to the next.
Can you see it?
Is it advancing, Veronica?
Yeah, I see a different slide, the new slide.
No, it's not advancing.
Frozen on yours? Okay, hold on.
Okay, we're having some
What
trouble
about
today. Yeah, but it's not advancing.
y'all? Don't see it. Nobody sees it advancing.
I do.
Oh, okay.
Working great.
All right, you want to go ahead and read?
Okay, how might the principal?
Okay, here, regular.
Huh?
Go ahead, Veronica.
How might the principal approach this and future meetings with her teachers? Data team meetings should be happening regularly so that all members of the administration and other teachers can share the knowledge and express concerns over student progress. Refer to school policy and missions regarding inclusion. Teachers could schedule learning walks so others can see amazing things that happen in the building. Principals need to ensure the inclusion teachers and regular ed teachers are working to plan together to support student needs. What is the path Eugenia should take? The role of the principal. She should seek day-to-day guidance from experts in the district and potentially litigious situations. Justice, she needs to ensure that students are being fairly given opportunities to advance. Care, she needs to have her teachers collaborate with specialists and each other. She should make, hold on, I can't see the slide. Oh, sorry, y'all. I was trying to move the thing so I could see. Teachers are forming relationship with their parents with conferences. Critique, she needs to make sure that all human rights are being addressed and that all students are getting the education that they need. I can't see that. Profession, she needs to be sure to safeguard diversity and do what is in the best interest of the students and following the law. Excuse me. What kind of collaboration from the children's family might the principal and teacher propose in order to improve the inclusive education program and encourage an appreciation for diversity and stimulate learning for all students? Parents should be given access to their students' data to show the growth for the individual students. Parents for their own child. Parents should be invited to the classroom to see wonderful things take place. Now, Dr. Lamb explained that you would not want to do that prior to getting the teacher in line with proper instruction.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, student-led conferences might be an option to give students a voice and demonstrate their own growth when the parents had concern about them having growth. What might Ishmael do? He has the background in working with adults. He should be involved in the meeting and planning between teachers and specialists. He could oversee a learning walks and debriefing teachers, debriefing of teachers that could happen afterwards. What actions might she take with the families? She should meet with parents more regularly. She needs more documentation to show growth for students in the room, not just on one group. She should consider the student portfolios to display the work of the students. Parent volunteers can be invited to help in the classroom. She might need to form small groups so that each student rotates through her instruction. Is that the last one? Hold on. Is that the last slide? I think it is. It's not advancing anymore, so that must be it. Is that all of them? Let me see. Yeah, that's the end.
Okay. Yeah, y'all hit all the things you need to, but again, I'm going to reiterate: do not have those parents in that room until you get in there and see what's going on, and make sure that you have fixed the problem before you have them in, because you'll never recover if they go. Even if you change it the next day, you'll never recover if they go in there. And it's what they are expecting and what they've been told it is, not what it should be. Oh, you'll never recover from that. You won't be there much longer as principal. Those parents, but they'll burn the central office down. So you've got to make sure that's going to happen. You know, I don't hold out a lot of hope for Eugenia, the principal here. I mean, these are kind of principal things that she should have been doing all along that she's not been doing. I don't hold out a lot of hope that she's just all of a sudden going to decide to be an effective administrator now. You are what you do. You see, the one thing, and I'll leave you with this thought tonight. Again, I appreciate you being with this session. Please remember, folks judge us on our actions, not our intentions. They may judge themselves on their intentions. I intended to pay my taxes on time and not cheat. I intended to go to church. I intended to be a better person. But they give themselves a pass, but they'll judge you on your actions. And so you've got to understand that I'm not telling you that it's fair, that it's equitable. I'm just telling you that it is. And so you're going to be held to a higher standard. And that's the nature of our business. You have to prove it every day. You have to get out in those rooms. You have to be that instructional leader. And you have to do that work. You have to be that servant leader. That means you work right along with them. And it's a difficult task. But you've got to do that if you're going to be successful. Again, thank everybody for being with us this summer. Thank you for all your presentations. Thank you for the hard work that you've done. I think I entered in all the grades earlier today, or I believe I've gotten them all now. And so everybody did well this summer, and I'm appreciative of that. I will see you in about 3 weeks, I suspect, when I do the town hall for everybody. I'll do a town hall for y'all separately, the 605s. I'll do a town hall with y'all separately later in the semester on interviewing. And I'll do a town hall for all returning students. The second week of class, I will do a town hall for everybody. I'll see you then, and we'll talk about your deadlines and at the end of the semester for your turn-ins to make sure that we complete on time. And then later on in the semester, I'll come on and do one for all the 605 classes where I do the interviewing skills. And so I'll see you a couple more times then. And then I'll see you face-to-face, hopefully, in December. When you complete, you are invited. You don't participate in graduation, but you are invited to the reception that we have immediately after. Have your certificates in hand, and we give them out to you. Make sure if you haven't applied for graduation, you do that. Even though you're add-on, you do have to apply for graduation. So make sure you get that done before long so that you won't have to pay a late fee. Okay? Everybody have a good week. I can't wait till December either. It'll be cooled off by then. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.